Well, why don't we ask about one other topic, a recent commitment in your life where you as a very engaged Catholic layperson was recruited to be involved in, what was it, a commission? What was the official name of the group that you were involved with?
It was the National Review Board of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops to investigate the sex abuse crisis by the Roman Catholic clergy in the United States that the Bishops' Conference put together in June of 2002. The January of 2002, the Boston Globe had done an expose and an investigative reporting about the sex abuse by Roman Catholic clergy in the Boston area at the time. And the bishop's response to that was to get a prominent group of Catholics across the country to implement and to investigate not individual cases, but what could be done or should be done on the sex abuse crisis in the United States. Some of the members, besides myself, was Leon Panetta, who is now head of the CIA, Robert Bennett, who was one of President Clinton's lawyers, a number of other people. William Burley, who was head of Scripps Howard Publishing Company, Ray Siegfried, who was a businessman from Oklahoma, Jane Childs, who ran the Kentucky Conference of Kentucky Conference of Catholics, Patricia Burke Hayes, who was a researcher at Loyola University and head of University of San Diego. Pamela Hayes was a criminal lawyer, African American, from Harlem in New York. A number of others. Paul McHugh, who is a psychiatrist, behavioral scientist, emeritus at Johns Hopkins University. Nick Caffardi, he was the dean of the law school at Duquesne, and also had been a lawyer for the Pittsburgh Archdiocese, and former Governor Frank Keating, and myself. But how I got chosen wasn't because of me being a lawyer, it was because I was had my background in working with children. And it only became very evident later on during my work. I was vice chair when Governor Keating was the chair, and then I became the chair, that my judicial experience was key to my position. And it just was amazing, as I had said prior in our discussion, that you are who you are today because of all the things you've done in your life. And at a certain moment in time, during this period when 3 years spent on this board, that being a judge was the experience I needed at the right time, at the right place. But without that, I never would have thought to cut off one of the bishops, just because he was rude. And I said, this is how we're going to proceed, and I just did. Because I was used to being an appellate court judge with the red light and turning it on and off, telling lawyers they can be quiet or not be quiet. But it was like, took a nanosecond for me to think about that, and just said, this is how rude, and I just, this is how we're going to do it. And they followed, they did what I said. But the judicial experience gave me, I guess, the wherewithal, the knowledge what to do in a certain situation. It was very interesting.
Procedural sense,
yes.
Sense of fairness.
Yes, right. Yeah, it was just very interesting.
So you issued your findings, and there was, there were some controversies.
Oh, there's all kinds of, right.
About the
third week after the board convened and started our work, we were to commission 2 reports. One was an epidemiological report on this, with the offenders and the victims, what caused this, how it happened, and the other was truly the numbers, how many victims were there in a 50-year period, how many offenders were there in a 50-year period, and some of the consequences of that. So we were able to get that first one commissioned by John Jay College of Criminal Justice with a particular procedure we put in place, that none of the board members would have access or discuss anything with the John Jay College of Criminal Justice until the report was ready to be published. That was it. No changes, no nothing. And the next one never was commissioned during our time on the board. The bishops, by the second week, third week of our work, realized they put together a very prominent, I wasn't prominent, but I think because I was a judge, and I think by being strong in my reputation, and all the other members were too, that they had made a mistake, that they put together a group of people who actually weren't going to do what they asked them to do on an everyday basis, but do what the 4 things they asked us to do. Put an Office of Child and Youth Protection together, hire somebody and do these 2 reports, and we were going to do that. But the bishops wanted to kind of guide us through that, but we said no. And so that started the controversy. So that independence. We were going to be totally independent, so the lay people in the United States would be able to trust us, because everything was now going to be based on trust. We couldn't trust the bishops and the cardinals because of how they transferred people. And we were going to tell the lay people that you can trust us, we're going to get to the bottom of this, and the only way to do that is be independent. But the bishops didn't really like that, and they still don't. So as we proceeded along for the 3 years, we had a lot of back stepping and refusal to do exactly the things we needed to get done, and in uncooperation. People didn't cooperate, the cardinals and the bishops in the diocese around the country. But we did get our report out, and we got another report out, one that Bob Bennett oversaw, and it was our voice, and it's a very, I think, useful report, and one that will, I think, be used from now on in looking at this sex abuse crisis. And as we sit here today, it's just as bad as it was in 2002, if not worse. We're no better off.
So are you still involved in any official, semi-official level in those matters, or did that end when
it ended
your
officially
to that commission ended?
Yes, but because of the knowledge I've learned from doing that and my observation, I've commented on occasion publicly on the issue when I feel it's necessary to tell the truth.
Well, one of the things that we welcome is your involvement here at the Chicago History Museum and our Catholic Chicago exhibit, and we thank you for that. And looking back on your life and looking ahead at what lies ahead, in terms of the Supreme Court, you seem very mid-career at this point.
I hope so. Well, I just love what I'm doing, and that's what Sister Henrietta said. Always love what you're doing at the present time. But if I were to think about what am I going to do next, God willing and able, is that I'd still like to work with children. I'd like to be able to get into the schools and encourage children to work hard, to enjoy what they do. Don't have to think so far ahead that this is what you want to do for the rest of your life, because you can do it in stages. Do what you like to do now, but always go to school if you can. So I hope to do that, and maybe, who knows what else, but...
Well, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.